A very warm welcome to everyone. This is India and Contemporary World Part 2, Class 10th, and we are going to cover the chapter Rise of Nationalism in Europe. I will try my best to cover this chapter in 6 respective parts, and I hope I try to make things more simplified so that you understand and make NCRT your best friend. Let's begin. So, this is the beautiful painting, rather a lithography by Frederick Suro, who was an artist. I'll explain this. First, we need to understand the paragraph, only then we'll be able to understand what is actually in the painting. So, in 1848, Frederick Suro, a French artist, which means a painter here, prepared a series of 4 prints. Frederick Suro prepared a series of 4 prints, visualizing his dream of a world made up of a democratic and social republic, as he called them. So, what happened was that in 1848 there was a man called Suro. He was born in a time period in which kings were the enemies of freedom. Kings were seen as someone who were against freedom of common people. Therefore, he decided to paint a world, to paint a beautiful dream that is called a utopian dream. What did I say? Is utopian. Just a second. Yeah. Utopian, as written here as well. Utopian vision. What is a utopian vision? Utopia is something which is, I'll not say impossible, but which is very difficult for us to experience. For example, a country, for example, in India becomes a country with no caste discrimination, with no patriarchy. Women here are empowered. Such a country. So it is very difficult to see, but it is not impossible, I'd rather say. So he drew a world that was made up of democratic and social republics. In 1848, the 19th century, looking for a country which is democratic and social republic was very difficult. It was something that is very odd, I would rather say. Why? Because that was a period where every part of the world was conquered by a king or a queen. Right? So, the first print of the series shows the people of Europe and America, men and women of all the ages and social classes, marching. You put a march, right? Marching in a long train and offering homage to the Statue of Liberty. Train here does not refer to any train, but to a long a line. See, there's a long line. See, there's a never-ending line. This is train, and they are offering homage. They are offering respect. They are offering tribute to the beautiful Statue of Liberty, right? As you would recall, artists of the time of French Revolution personified liberty as female figure. Here, you can recognize the torch of enlightenment she bears in one hand and the Charter of Rights in the other. So here, she is our Statue of Liberty, right? She is holding a charter in one hand and a torch in the other. What is a charter? What is a charter? Just to understand in a very simple language, it is a paper, it is a chart which grants you your rights, which tells you that you are allowed to do that, you are free to do that, you are liberated to do that. So, Charter of Rights of Man in the other, and one she's holding a torch of enlightenment. Now, this beautiful word enlightenment, one of my most favorite words, this was first used by Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant was, it's very difficult to describe him in one or two words, but he was a philosopher who believed in okay, that's a very big word for you. Okay, deontological ethics. Now let me explain you. He was a man who said that duty is the utmost important thing in your life, and he was a part of the Renaissance, right? He was the part of the Enlightenment era. It was an era in Europe in which different ideas came across, in which people found liberty, printing, reading books, and reading about your folk, reading about your language and history. Such period came after so long. It nullified patriarchy. So she's holding the torch of enlightenment. She's saying that get enlightened. It is, look, the word enlightenment is made up of enlighten, right? Enlighten, which means brighten up yourself, think of something, think. So, very much detail. Never mind. Right. So now she's holding the torch of enlightenment and the Charter of Rights of Man. On the earth, it is foreground of the image line the shattered remains of the symbols of absolutist institutions. What is absolute? Okay, now when we say this is absolute, what is absolute? It is rigid. You cannot amend it. You cannot. It is not flexible. It is not changeable. It is what it is. So absolute institutions are referred here to monarchical empires, which means absolutist institution is called that now whatever the king will say has to happen. So now see, the land here is a symbol of absolutist institutions. The crowns are broken. See, the crowns are broken, which symbolizes that the authoritative institutions, the absolutist institutions, are dying and should end. In Soro's utopian vision, as I explained, the peoples of the world are gathered as distinct nations identified through their flags and national costume. Now, why is it written peoples? People and peoples have a difference. So, what is people is plural, person, people. But what is peoples? Peoples is different. Peoples means people from different identity, people from different language, people from different cultures. This is what you call peoples, right? So what Suro says that people from different cultures, see Germany, then Switzerland, and many other countries, people from different look at their costumes. They're all different, right? So these people are marching, which means they are from different religion, different culture, different language, different countries, and they're going to the Statue of Liberty and paying homage. Now, leading the procession is USA and Switzerland, which by the time were already nation states. Now it is saying that, see, this is USA and somewhere there is Switzerland and this is France. Why are they ahead of these people? These people are ahead. Why? Because they have already attained freedom. They have already attained a constitution. They have a governing power rather than the empires. That is why they are ahead and they're leading, because they have experienced, right? Then, yeah, France, identifiable by the revolutionary tricolor. Of course, tricolor is not only India's tricolor which means any flag which has three colors. Okay. So France has just reached the statue. She is followed by the people of Germany, which means first is France, then is Germany, bearing the black, red, and gold flag. So Germany's flag is made up of three colors, like ours, saffron, white, and green. They have black, red, and gold. Interestingly, at the time when Suro created this image, when he painted this, German was not a nation yet. The flag they carry is just an expression of liberal hopes. He says that Germany, by the time I'm painting this picture, is not a country yet. It is just an expression that what I want. As I said, it is a utopian vision, right? So, to unify the numerous German speaking principalities into a nation, German speaking principalities, what is the meaning? Which means, okay, so what happened was that German, I think, I'm not sure, it was uh, divided into 39 states. I think, if I'm sorry if I'm getting confused between Italy or Germany, but I think it is Germany. Germany was divided between 39, principalities, for example, right? So take this that these are 39. So if this whole is Germany and these are principalities, so Suro wants each of the 39 principalities to get together, break their boundaries, and just make one whole Germany. This is called unity, right? Into a nation state under a democratic constitution. Suro wants all of the 39 principalities to begin to have a feeling of nationalism among them, and find a way that they become one nation and have a democratic constitution. Following the German peoples are the people of Austria. These were the principalities now: Austria, Kingdom of Two Sicilies, that is Italy, Lombardy, Poland, England, Ireland, Hungary, Russia. From the heavens above, Christ, saints, and angels gaze upon the scene. They have been used by the artist to symbolize fraternity. Now, this is our Jesus Christ. These are the angels. And why are they in the painting? Because they are blessing. They are a symbol of brotherhood. Brotherhood is just a simple term for fraternity. Fraternity is what you should use now, but it means brotherhood, right? So now this is the heart of the chapter, this paragraph. It will just tell you that what will happen in the chapter. You might just read it leisurely. This chapter will deal with many of the issues visualized by Suro. During the 19th century, nationalism emerged as a force which brought about sweeping changes in the political and mental world of Europe. The end result of these changes was the emergence of a nation state. What is a nation state? Nation state is nothing, but nation here is referred to people of same culture, right? Identity. Sorry for the bad handwriting. I'm trying my best. State here means something which is politically, territorially unified, and has a government to rule, to govern rather. So this is a nation state, which means a state, a country of the people of same or different but united culture, right? The end result of these changes was the emergence of a nation state, a united government, a united country in the place of a multinational dynastic empires of Europe. The concept and practices of the modern state, in which a centralized power exercised sovereign control. What does this whole line mean? A centralized power, that means a government like our central government, exercised, performed its sovereign control. What is sovereignty? Sovereignty is when you are able to make your own decisions, right? Sovereignty is when I'm able to rule myself. So it says that when a centralized government is able to rule itself, this is under a defined territory, this is what is a nation state. But a nation state was one in which the majority of its citizens, not only its rulers, came to develop a sense of common identity. That's what I said: same culture, common identity, shared history or descent. Descent is background. This commonness did not exist from time immemorial. It was forged through struggles. It says that this commonness, this unity, it was not ingrained or injected into them, but it came after a lot of struggle, by the actions of leaders, by the actions of common people. This chapter will look at the diverse processes through which nation states and nationalism came into being in the 19th century Europe. So, this is a beautiful paragraph by Ernest Nation, which just says that a nation is a culmination of long past endeavors, sacrifice, and devotion. A heroic past, great men, glory, that is the social capital upon which one bases a national idea. So, Ernest Renan was a French philosopher who outlined his understanding that what is a nation. He said that nation is not just a defined territory which is ruled by a central government, but it is a culmination, which means it is a result. Culmination, which means it is a result of sacrifices. It is a result of unity. It is a result of heroic actions. It does not come as a in free. It So he says that nation is a daily plebiscite, which means daily you have to choose something. Plebiscite is a direct vote by which all people of a region are asked to accept or reject a proposal. In simple language, what is a plebiscite is that, for example, the easiest example is, okay, let me take you back to the Indian history. There was our famous what is that called, princely state, Junagadh, and there was partition. It was India or Pakistan. Junagadh was given a choice: either you should join Pakistan or you should join India. So the choice in which you have only two options, that is a yes or a no, is called a plebiscite, in which Junagadh therefore had to choose India in the end, right? So this is a plebiscite where you have only two options, either yes or no. There's no middle path, there's no madhyam marg, no Griffith Taylor right now. Now let's start the French Revolution and the idea of nation. One of my favorite topics in the world history is French Revolution, because it is a pioneer of nationalism. Pioneer, which means it is the starting. It led, as I said, as Suro said in his, he depicted in his painting that French was someone who led, not led, but yes, who passed that Statue of Liberty initially, because France is a land of pioneerism. I think it has everything, and has such a history in which everything happened for the first time in Europe, especially. Either you take literature, you take Renaissance, you take Enlightenment, you take freedom, you take Constitution, you take falling of empires, or anything, right? So the first part is French Revolution, the idea of nation. The first clear expression of nationalism came with the French Revolution in 1789. France, as you would remember, was a full-fledged territorial state in 1979 under the rule of an absolute monarch. Who was the absolute monarch who ruled France? Louis XVI, under the dynasty, Bourbon dynasty. Very good. A not so able ruler. The political and constitutional changes that came in the wake of French Revolution led to the transfer of sovereignty from monarchy to the body of French citizens. What it's saying that the struggle which the people of France did, it ultimately led the people to have the power in the end. As I think Suro said, I'm not sure, Suro said that people are the nation. So the French Revolution culminated to an end in which the people had the right. The revolution proclaimed that it was people who would henceforth constitute the nation and shape its identity. Clear. From the very beginning, the French revolutionaries introduced various measures and practices that would create a sense of collective identity, which is la patrie and les citoyens, that is fatherland and citizen, which emphasized the notion of, again, united community by enjoying equal rights under the constitution. They too had a tricolor flag, which replaced the formal royal standard. What is the formal royal standard? It is a flag which represented the empire, which represented the I think the monarchy, right? Now we know the Estates General was elected by the body of active citizens. What were the active citizens? So in France, there were two kind of citizens. First was active, and second was passive. These were men, these were women, these were 25 plus, who were rich, who were able to pay tax, and these were all poor who could not give tax. So an estate general, which was elected by active citizens, renamed as National Assembly, who was responsible or took the responsibility of making a constitution. And what did they do to have a common identity? That they composed hymns, they took oaths, and they took all of these things in one name of the nation. A centralized administrative system was put in place, uniform laws were made for citizens, internal custom duties, dues were abolished, a uniform system of weights and measures was adopted, regional dialects were discouraged, and France, as it was spoken and written in Paris, became the common language of the people. So there's a common language. Language plays a very important role in the unity of a nation, and therefore only one language was made, not uh, official, but yes, common. It was Paris. French, sorry, yeah, the French language, written in Paris, yeah. So, the revolutionaries further declared that it was the mission and the destiny of the French nation to liberate the people of Europe from despotism. What is despotism? It is an autocratic rule. In other words, to help peoples of Europe to become nations. Now, when the news of the events in France reached different cities, what news? What news? News of revolution, news of freedom, news of liberty, equality, fraternity. Okay? When the news of events in France reached the different cities of Europe, students and other members of educated middle class began setting up Jacobin clubs. We know this. This was a revolutionary club. Their activities and campaigns prepared the way of French armies which moved into Holland, Belgium, Switzerland, and much of Italy. With the outbreak of revolutionary wars, French armies began to carry the idea of nationalism abroad. So this says that France was the pioneer who took nationalism to a different level, especially to whole of Europe. Yes. Um, Now, this is a map. You must understand this. Okay, with the wide swathe of territory that came under his control, whom are we talking about is Napoleon. Okay, we're talking about Napoleon set about introducing many of the reforms that he had already introduced in France. So, what were the reforms that uh, Napoleon had under the Civil Code of 1804? This is the main idea. So, through a return to monarchy, Napoleon had no doubt destroyed democracy in France. Yes. So, what happened that Napoleon destroyed the democracy in France? Right. As far as I remember, he was once a part of the revolution, but then he himself became the king. Yes, hysterical. But in the administrative field, he had incorporated revolutionary principles in order to make the whole system more rational and efficient. Simple, he introduced a civil code of 1804, which was also known as Napoleonic Code of 1804. What was introduced that all the privileges by birth were abolished, equality was bought, there was security of right to property. This code exported to the regions under the French control. So now exported matlab, which means that it was reached out to the French control, Dutch Republic, Switzerland, Italy, and Germany. Napoleon simplified administrative divisions. He abolished feudal system. You need to know what is feudal system. And freed peasants from serfdom, slavery, manorial dues. Manorial dues. What is manorial dues? Manor. There was a manor. What happened was that there were big lords. They had a huge manorial estate, which means something which has everything, which has farms, which has a good castle, which has gardens, which has you know, fields and crops and cash crops and commercial crops and subsistence crops, everything. A swimming pool, just imagine a big club which is owned by a lord. So dues, whatever the labor they constituted. In the towns too, guild restrictions were removed. Guild system, you need to know. Transport and communication systems were improved. Peasants, artisans, workers, and new businessmen enjoyed a new freedom. Businessmen and small-scale producers of goods in particular began to realize that uniform laws, standardized weight, measures, and common national currency would facilitate the movement and exchange of goods and capital from one region to the other. So these were all the introductions, or all the pointers of what constituted in the Civil Code of 1804. However, in the areas conquered, the reactions of the local populations to the French rule were mixed. Initially, in places such as Holland, Switzerland, as well as in Brussels, Mainz, Milan, Warsaw, The French armies were welcomed as harbingers of liberty, but the initial enthusiasm soon turned into hostility, as it became clear that new administrative arrangements did not go hand in hand with the political freedom. Increased taxations, censorship, forced conscription into French armies required to conquer the rest of Europe all seemed to outweigh the advantages of administration. So what happened? That slowly and steadily what happened that when the idea of revolution, the idea of freedom began spreading into other regions like these, the French armies were welcomed, but as harbingers of liberty, which means they were not as good as they said they will be. Because there's a beautiful painting, yes, this painting. What does it depict? This is Germany, okay? This land is of Germany. Now, these people, as you would recognize, red, blue, and white, yeah, this is France, right? This is France. So the French soldiers are trying to hoist or to plant a tree which says that we are the people and we will save you. We will save German people. But at the end of the day, the Germans are scared and they are vulnerable. They are not happy with the invasion of French. Because as France promised that we will protect you and bring freedom and we'll bring constitutional democratic powers, they are not doing that. They are not. So this is a satire, this is a sarcastic reference that French are not liberators who opposed monarchy in the territories they entered. This is showing that how hysterical and how hypocritical they are, right? This is a beautiful picture. This is Napoleon, and he is carrying he's portrayed here as a postman, and now as he's returning, these are the territories that he's losing on his way. So the life of Napoleon has been very up or down, which means he had a beautiful rise but a sudden fall. So in the next class, we're going to cover the part 2. Thank you.